Have you ever wondered why modern diseases are on the rise, despite our technological advancements? The truth is, we're trapped in a dangerous mismatch between our genetics and the fast-paced, processed world we've created. For 200,000 generations, humans thrived on natural, whole food. But in just a blink of an eye, thanks to industrialization, we've become hormonally modified beings, fighting against our very biology. It's time to wake up and take back control before it's too late.
What does that mean? What does that mean? What I'm trying to tell you is that you've come out of your environment and you're living in a totally different environment. That's why you are far more prone to this disease than Caucasians. Because teleologically and from the evolutionary standpoint, this is not something you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be eating every 2 hours. You're not supposed to be eating all the sugary things. You're not supposed to be eating all the processed foods. So if you look at history of the human being, Homo sapien, right? There have been 200,000 generations before the agricultural revolution. Then, how many generations went by in the agricultural revolution? Anybody has an idea? It's only 600 generations. Only 600 generations in the agricultural revolution. And how many generations have gone by with the industrial revolution? 10. So when you look at the span of time and the genetics, your genetics that you all have here right now, you want to say, oh, yeah, agricultural is going to change my genetics, my agricultural stuff, It's only been 600 generations. So that's only in the last 4 minutes of the history of the Homo sapien. And the Industrial Revolution represents 1 millisecond of your entire ancestral history. So how do you expect your genetics to have evolved? So I say to all of you, continue doing what you're doing right now, and another 100,000 generations from now, your progeny will develop the genetic changes that are going to be necessary to sustain this type of lifestyle, and they'll live to 110 years old as well, and they'll be healthy. What kind of nonsense is that? So you want to eat plastics and you want to eat artificial and processed foods? Fine, keep doing it. Another 100,000 generations from now, those kids will be able to handle this diet that we're doing today. You see the lag phase? That's why you're a cactus in a rainforest. Because your genetics have not evolved concurrently with your environment. You're total misplaced. And I'm not talking about just you, I'm talking about everybody in the United States. Everybody, all human beings on this planet. We are misplaced in time. And we've so rapidly changed our environment and our food and our lifestyle and processing and everything else, and then we expect our genetics to handle it. I'm a diesel engine and you're trying to put gasoline in me. That's the problem. Then you're wondering why I sputter and make noises, huh? That's why it happens. So coronary artery disease is definitely more malignant in itself. It's because genetically you haven't evolved on that background. So the risk factors are metabolic syndrome, as you know, hypertension, smoking. But look, diabetes. Now, diabetes and pre-diabetes causes hypertension. So I'm going to stop here right now and say that hypertension, you all know what high blood pressure is, right? Oh yeah, I got high blood pressure. There's no such thing as high blood pressure on its own. There's no such thing. It's always a reason for high blood pressure. It's either you have sleep apnea because you're overweight, or you have diabetes or pre-diabetes. Or you have a kidney problem. There's always a reason for hypertension. And if your doctor says to you, oh, you just got hypertension, well then what, God just wanted to give you hypertension? Oh, I had a hypertension deficiency. Yeah, there's no such thing. So there's always a reason for hypertension. Don't let anyone tell you that, oh yeah, you just have idiopathic hypertension or essential hypertension. There's no such thing. And then hyperlipidemia, and then connective tissue disease and obesity. Now, all these things are understandable, but I'm going to tell you what the root cause of all this is. The root cause that can explain all this explains the obesity, the connective tissue disease, the hyperlipidemia, the diabetes, the smoking, the hypertension, the metabolic syndrome. The root cause, you got to get to the root cause problem. We don't. We want to treat your symptoms only. That's wrong, right? So Asians have fewer traditional risk factors, but the threshold, which I already mentioned, is much worse for South Asians. So your body mass index, your weight, if a Caucasian has a body mass more than 25, then he'll start running into problems. He's getting overweight now. South Asians, 23. 23! Your body mass index needs to be less than 23. Your blood pressure needs to be less than 130 over 85. A Caucasian can handle 140 over 90. You can't. You need to know this. So when you go to a doctor, it's not one treatment for all, which is what we tend to do. South Asian walks into my office, a black guy walks in there, a Hispanic walks in there, a Caucasian walks in there, everyone treat them all the same way. You can't do that. You see, so if a Chinese guy has high blood pressure, he's going to get a stroke, a hemorrhagic stroke, at the same blood pressure that the Caucasian will have nothing wrong. And at that same blood pressure, the poor black guys, they get kidney failure. Go to the dialysis center, you'll see it. So these are ethnic genetics that cause different phenotypes with the same degree of disease. Something going on here because we are all made different. Your genetic background is totally different than the genetic background of Caucasians or Latinos or blacks. They all have their problem. So when a black guy comes into my office, I'm really worried about his blood pressure, and the first test I'm going to order is a kidney test because his creatinine is already elevating at 140 over 90. The Chinese guy that walks in, and if he says, I got this intense headache here, he's got a stroke, he's got a hemorrhage. So you got to know some of these things. Anyway, let's keep going on. So the next one I said here is increased abdominal hip ratio greater than 0.85. So this is very important because the shape of man has changed. The shape of man doesn't look like David the statue anymore. The new man looks like this. And he's got his Coke in the one hand and he's got a hamburger in the other. What's going on? The shape of man has changed. And why has it changed? I'm going to tell you that this is not just from eating too much. This is from hormonal change. You've become a hormonally modified human being. I started out by talking about hormones. Which hormone? Insulin. So now you understand that it's not about calories in and calories out. You can have the same amount of calories, but if they're causing a problem with insulin, then you're going to become a hormonally modified human being and you're going to get all the diseases associated with this, with hyperinsulinemia. So it's this old theory about calories in and calories out, totally wrong. So those studies have already been done in rats, they've been done in human beings already, 2,000 calories, both groups, but this group is processed foods. They all get sick. Same group, 2,000 calories, but whole foods. They do just fine. Because I just told you that for so many generations you are consuming whole foods, now you're eating processed foods. Your gut didn't change, it's still 13 feet of bowels. Your hormones didn't change. But now all that processed food, all that lot, all that flour, all the refined products suddenly hit your duodenum. The K cells go crazy. They've never seen this before. They've never seen so much powdered stuff come through the stomach and say, oh my God, what are we going to do with all this? I'm supposed to be slowly digesting this over 13 feet of bowels. Instead, I have to now deal with all this in one onslaught. So what do? I produce a whole lot of GIP, which is a hormone. And that goes to the pancreas and says, make all the insulin you can, man. I have a whole truckload of food here. That's exactly what your body's language is saying. So the insulin comes around, pumps into your bloodstream and says, yeah, I'm going to get rid of all that sugar that's got. And what does it do? It puts it all into storage. Insulin's job is to put into storage. And when insulin puts into storage, where does it put it? It puts it into 4 places. You all need to know what insulin does because glucose is bad in the bloodstream. It has to get it out. The first place it puts it into your liver. So you get a fatty liver. 80% of Indians have a fatty liver. 80%. The next place it puts it is next to the pancreas. So you get a fatty pancreas and a fat in the gut, and then the viscera. So you look at him from the back, he looks great. Turn sideways, oh my God! That's the guy. So it all goes into the viscera. And then the 4th place it goes to is to the muscles. And when it gets to the muscles, then it's in between all the muscle cells and it causes insulin resistance, even more insulin resistance, because now those muscles can't respond properly to the signals from insulin. So if you look around, you can see it. It's in front of your eyes everywhere. So this is what's happening with insulin. So you're becoming a hormonally modified human being. So only 2,000 calories you took in, just like the other guy. But you took it in the form of processed foods, in the form of powdered stuff, lort, flour, croissants, bagels, cake, chips, all the processed things that you like to.
All the good stuff.
Yep. Anything that's made in a box, comes in a box, anything that comes in a box, don't eat it. Anything that's made in a factory, don't eat it. Anything that comes with a barcode, don't eat it. Anything that's got a label on it and says ingredients have all these things. You know, is there a label on a banana? No. Eat it. But if it's got a box and it's got a little label on it with nutritional this, you know why they do that? Why do they put them? Because they want to fool you into thinking you can buy that stuff. Half of you, no, not even half, 90% of you don't know how to read that label. No, nobody knows how to read that label here. If I ask you how many grams okay, in a teaspoon of sugar, how many grams of glucose is in it, or sugar? 1 gram. You can't Google, you can't call your best friend. It's 4, right? 4 grams. So the packet says, and this is real, okay? This is real. So a packet says, or the can says, 24 grams of sugar in it. Divide that by 4, that's 8. Would you, in your right sense of mind, have 8 teaspoons of true sugar? Right now. Come on. I started this talk. By the end of this talk, you should have finished the can, right? 8 teaspoons of sugar. Would you do it? But you've been bamboozled. You've been bamboozled by the industry, by the food industry, because they want your money, okay? Just put your money out there, go buy that food. So you'll have these beautiful advertisements, the colorings, and they'll show, oh yeah, you know, yeah, have this drink, and they show this happy family killing themselves. But you think, oh, they're having a great time. And then you think that in the mornings, oh yeah, this is great, I got my orange juice, my kid, I love you, my child, I love you. Here, have some orange juice. And then you give them some Pop-Tarts at the same time. And say, yeah, this is good breakfast for you, you know, so have some Pop-Tarts here. Yeah? And better still, you have some cereal. I took it out of this Kellogg's box. Cereal. And you're going to give the kid some cereal and top it up with some skim milk in it, which is also a product. Now, that kid is going to develop pre-diabetes, obesity, hormonal modifications. Look, the sad thing is we know this, and I have all the data for this. But who's listening? Only you will listen. Because let me tell you, government authorities are not listening. The Department of Agriculture is not going to listen. There's too many financial things behind all this. You cannot change anything. There's too many food subsidies for all those people that do all the bad things. There's no way you can, but you as the consumer can change it. You as the consumer can change this. So anything that goes in a box, anything, just don't eat it. So, urbans, Indians in urban area versus rural areas, okay? How come in India they weigh more in the cities? Because now I'm civilized. I'm a city man. And I eat like a city man now. 3 times a week I go out and I eat out. And I have to poison myself. Come on. This is why the city guys are dying and the urban people are not. Look at their waist ratios. They're off. They're sedentary, non-sedentary, right? Abdominal obesity, pre-diabetes. This is well documented. The difference between cities and the gowns being the villages. All right, so let's keep talking more here. Pre-diabetes, the prevalence of diabetes in US 5.3. India, 12 to 14%. Because India's changed the way it eats. Everything is now refined. Everything is made out of flour. Everything is ready-made. And you can eat all this busu. What you call busu? What you call it? Chevra and gathias and all these things that you find and say, oh yeah, this is great stuff. I'm inviting my best friend. I love you, my friend. Yeah, eat this. Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah? And then if you look at these people, they have high blood pressure, they have high triglyceride, they have low HDL. So when I look at that, I already know that they have hyperinsulinemia. So 50% of South Asians are vegetarians. Wait a second. Then why do they have such a high incidence of corn? Oh yeah, it's the meat. Yeah. You know, meat, red meat. That's another lie that you've all been taught. Red meat causes coronary artery. Then explain to me, sir, why? If 50% of the population, in fact in some places it's even more in India, it's 80% in certain areas of India, are vegetarians, how come they have such a high incidence of coronary artery disease? It's nothing to do with red meat and chicken. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with sugar. What's the biggest poison in the world? Sugar. So this is all lies. Red meat. No, I don't mind red meat, but you got to eat grass-finished red meat. So it contains all the vitamin K2 and none of the omega-6s in it. You see now, the meat you buy today is manufactured because they're eating corn. But since when are cows supposed to eat corn? And then you give them antibiotics because the corn rots in the stomach. They have 4 stomachs. They're supposed to be ruminants, right? But they can't because it's corn. It starts rotting and then they die. So you have to give them antibiotics to kill all the bad bacteria in the gut. And then those bacteria, then all those antibiotics get into your bloodstream and then you get dysbiosis. And then you wonder why you all have dysbiosis. And why you got so many antibiotics going on in your colon, killing those poor bacteria in your gut, which should be actually helping you. Do you see the vicious cycle here? So I don't mind meat, and all my studies clearly show that. But make sure it's grass-finished, natural, without that omega-6 corn oil. Oh no, but we got fields and fields of corn for this purpose. 80% of the corn is fed to animals, not even humans. But it gets to you through the fat. And it's all omega-6. That brings me to oil, because since we are going to be limited in time, let me just jump right into it. What did Indians do? What did they all do? They all started eating vegetable oils because Ansel Keys came out in 1957 and said, oh yeah, animal fat is bad for you, you know. So all butter went out through the door, ghee went out through the door, and we went to vegetable seed oils. And hence we have this epidemic also of coronary artery disease. So I told you about sugar being the bad boy. What's the second worst bad boy? Vegetable seed oils. So why do they call it vegetable seed oils? Because they've bamboozled you again. There's no oil in vegetables, but they call it vegetable seed oil because it sounds so healthy. You know, it's vegetable seed oil. It's so nice. It's so benign, you know. It's so good. It's good for you. Vegetable seed oil. My teacher said something about vegetables, right? So I'll have that oil. It's craziness going on. So the vegetables here. So they went to Vanaspati ghee.
What is that?
That's vegetable ghee.
That's vegetable ghee in India. So basically they called it ghee, but they call it Vanaspati ghee. So this is vegetable seed oils. It contain a whole lot of omega-6 in it and omega-9, which is very pro-inflammatory. If you saw how they make that oil, you won't touch it. If you saw how they make it in that factory, I tell you, all the solvents they use, all the chemicals they use, the colorings, the deodorizing and everything else, and now it looks nice and golden red, so nice, golden color. Yeah, sunflower seed oil, safflower oil, canola oil, corn oil, soy oil. And you go to the restaurants and they cook everything in that oil, and it's, you think it's just fine. They must have used the best quality oil, Yeah, they just poisoned your food for you. Sweet poison. No vegetable seed oils. Vegetable seed oils will kill you. They cause lots of problems with the body. So what they cause is oxidation because they're polyunsaturated. Polyunsaturated, they have bonds, hydrogen bonds that are unsaturated. So what happens, that there are other molecules that can stick to it. Saturated fats, there's nothing they can interact with. You take a piece of ghee and you leave it here, nothing's going to happen to it. It will not go rancid. For months and months, it won't go rancid. But if you take vegetable seed oils, it'll get rancid within a matter of a day or two. And in order for it not to go there, they put preservatives in it. No vegetable. You want to put some oil? You put a piece of butter in there. Or better still, is pure ghee. That's the thing you got to use. So I have a whole lecture on YouTube called The Fat Lies. And it talks about the chemical structures of oils and ghee and does a full, and then all the studies that have been done showing that people who eat saturated fats, they don't get coronary artery disease. Those who eat polyunsaturated fats get coronary artery disease and cancer. Because it's so proven. In fact, I remember when I was a fellow, we used to read all these studies that they were doing at Yale University, and you want to grow cancer cells, you put vegetable oil in it. You want rats to get cancer, you give them vegetable oils. So you feed them vegetable oils, and the poor rats get cancer. Oh, but we do it here ourselves. So you know how Cisco came out, right? Crisco, you know what Crisco is? Yeah, Crisco is cottonseed oil, right? So it came out because at the turn of the century, when the Ford industry was taken off with the cars, they used to have all these cotton seeds left over, so they used to get the oil from it. It was black and horrible. And they used to put that cotton seed in the cars, to oil them and lubricate them. But even then, there was so much left over because the cotton industry was so big. So they said, what are we going to do with all this stuff? So one smart scientist said, I can think of something. And he took it and he put it through a whole bunch of chemicals and he made it into this white, solid stuff. And he tasted it. He said, man, this thing tastes good. I think we should feed it to people. He sold the formula to Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble took it, put it in a tin and called it Crisco. And they said, now how are we going to get people to use this? Well, you see, it's got a long shelf life. Crisco does. So they took it and they made a book, a cooking book. And they gave it out for free to everybody. This is how you bake with Crisco. So right until 1965, 66, we used to bake with Crisco only. And we saw the incidence of coronary artery disease shooting up. But that's what happened in India as well. So my point in India is that we moved away from ghee because we were very intelligent and we were listening to what the Western scientists were doing here. Because in 1977, the McGovern government came out and said that it's all to do with saturated fats, and we believed it. And it's got nothing to do with it. So they blamed saturated fats, vegetarians and non-vegetarians, everyone started consuming vegetable seeds. So we moved away from coconut oil, we moved away from ghee, and we started consuming vegetable seed oils. And this is what caused a whole new problem for us. So look at the global consumption of vegetable oils. Massive. We've never consumed so much vegetable oil in our life. Peanut oil, cottonseed oil, sunflower, corn oil, canola oil, soybean oil, palm oil. So you say, oh yeah, I come home and I like to eat some nuts. So I only just noticed it not so many years ago, that it's so beautiful, walnuts, pecans, and all these things. But when I laid at the bottom, roasted in sunflower seed oil. I stopped it. So now I buy the raw nuts. And I'd rather just eat the raw nuts without all that oil in it, because they're just ruining it. Now my nuts have a lot of good oil in it. Nuts are very healthy. They have good oil in it, but not when they are roasted in all that junk. So be careful what you do. And read those little, did it have a label? Yeah. The box of the can of nuts, mixed nuts, has a label on it. Well, I should have already known. So, risk factors. So also in India, what happened is that vegetarian and non-vegetarian, we started consuming too much carbs. Way too much carbs. And they're all processed carbs. So look what I'm going to say. Wheat flour. Wheat flour is not something we should all be consuming. Your great-grandfathers used to have millet and sorghum, not wheat. Remember, wheat came in the last 1 millisecond in your evolution.